Sup shooters, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves a track by an act named The Drum titled Anthem of Ukraine. And let's switch over to here. This is obviously a very contentious topic at the moment. This track, as I understand it, was released very recently. I think it was like last Friday or something like that. This is the third track that I've reviewed from The Drum. The Drum is doing 17 tracks in 17 months, so it's good to go along this journey with them. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Oh yeah, that war march. Some bit of distortion in there, and the bells with the kicks. And those choral chants in the background. Very, very ominous. It's incredibly angry. It's incredibly angry, and I can imagine that a lot of people over there, especially with stuff going on at the moment, are feeling pretty pissed off. So I think that the way that this motif is, the way it's been produced, and the way it's been voiced is fantastic. It's appropriate. Phenomenal dissonance in that harmony there with those guitars and everything. And repeating twice? That vocal performance is absolutely phenomenal. It's exactly appropriate for this. I'm so proud of the drum. Because it can be difficult to genuinely and amicably and in a way that's caring. It's difficult to get this kind of balance right with the theme and such a contentious topic. But I just feel like, again, obviously, if you're on the other side of the fence, you're going to be unhappy with this song, and more power to you. But if you're looking at the complete shitstorm that's happening over there, you can imagine people crying out and stuff like that, you know? It's like the guitar is like smothering the drums. Really interesting tone of the drums, actually. I'm not sure how they've done that. I don't mind it. It's actually fucking catchy. Excuse the language, it's actually catchy as hell. It reminds me a lot of the new metals from like the early 2000s. But it was the kind of new metal from the early 2000s where it was like about stuff that like you could genuinely get like this about, you know. Take that how you will. It's an absolute banger. It sounds like it's ready for release. I was initially like, is the guitar swallowing the drums too much? But that kind of rough, kind of visceral tone can often work in the favor of a track, because it's not like the situation is sterile and polished. It's not like it's perfect and pristine and nice and pretty. It's a horrendous situation, you know? Great choice here to bring it down a little bit. Nice bell work on the ride though, eh? Kind of sounds like it's been put for a radio speaker, you know? Great. Oh. It hits like a train, dude. Great double tracking at the end of each of these times of the stanza. Damn. Because this is my conclusion of the track by The Drum titled Anthem of Ukraine. Wow. I don't know how to feel about this one in the sense that I don't know enough about the situation to really like have an educated sort of complete knowledge of it. Does that make sense? About what's going on over there. And I feel like me making any comments about it would be disingenuous. But I know that there's been some really horrendous stuff that's occurred over there and some war crimes. There's been like accusations of war crimes, and that is obviously not okay. I think that at the least war crimes aren't okay. I think that it's really important for people to make music like this, songs that are about current events, stuff that getting political with it. There is absolutely nothing wrong with becoming political with music. Honestly, protest music has been some of the most important music we've had throughout our entire existence, throughout our entire musical history, like 20th century and stuff like that. I think it almost becomes kind of depressing when people are afraid of upsetting other people to a certain extent. You know, it's just the freedom of expression and creativity. It's okay to attack the idea. And I think that Anthem of Ukraine, I think people like from Ukraine would probably listen to this and think, yeah, I get what we're trying to do here. You know, it says written for the people down below. You can see it through my t-shirt because my t-shirt is green. I didn't plan for that, but it's kind of dope in a weird way, you know? So I think the story about again, the country being taken over and fighting, the anthem of Ukraine, the country, it's obvious. We know what it's about. It's obvious. And I think that it's an important story to tell. And I think that the drum told it in a way that was respectful to both the situation, the people of Ukraine. Yeah, it was authentic and genuine. I think the vocal performance as well from the drum, it was sensational. It took me a while to get my head around it and what we were trying to do with it. But I think that I absolutely adore it to pieces. It gave me that kind of Limp Bizkit, kind of real rough around the edges vibe, that kind of tone to it from like the early 2000s. And I live for that. I didn't realize I'd enjoy it that much because it's been a long time since I've listened to music from that time period. But it just gave me vibes all over again. I'm like, yeah, no, I can get behind this. The vocal performance was it always had a lot of musicality to it, but it was also kind of like, it was reaching out, We were really trying to tell people, we had a bit of grit, vocal fry in there, and that anthem of Ukraine part at the end of each of the choruses, like the crowd chant and everything like that, was so hype, man. It was dope. It was really dope. It was in the kindest way possible. It's almost formulaic in the sense that it's exactly what I would expect from a chorus of a song like this. It's kind of surreal how good the drum is at making these hooks. I can't fault it. It's fantastic. It would be difficult for me to believe that the drum had not produced music for other musicians before, especially around that time period, with how it's been done. This musician clearly has some experience and polish to what they're doing. And it's fantastic. The motif itself with those distorted guitars, the kind of rough, kind of gritty kind of drums, the bass and everything like that, and kind of the boom, 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 those kind of marching tribal drums and everything like that. It's intense. That almost sort of pseudo orchestral feel there with the big boom, boom. Big those drums that you can imagine people walking. Imagine people walking. It's wild, man. The sound design and the way it makes you feel I think this is probably the best song that I've heard from the drum yet, out of the three. It kind of completely sells it. You have a catchy hook with that kind of in between, that the start and the finish, which kind of resembles the war march, and it's excellent. The actual structure of it as well, with the intro and then the verses and the choruses and such, we didn't need more than that. I think for like a 3-minute 30 track, the real estate was used phenomenally well. I really cannot imagine needing to include more within this track. I think we told the story that we needed to there. I'm liking that the drummers found themselves a niche into regards to the way I structure stuff and the instrumentation, like the composition and arrangement, with these various instruments there. I think that every note was in place, and I like those little bell rides that we had occasionally, and the filthy distortion on those guitars, man. Again, it's just a wall of sound with those vocals on top and that hook, and it smashes you in the face. And then it's almost like, because the war march, the boom boom part, is kind of quieter than that, it almost is somber, as if you're having to sort of contemplate what's been said while you have that image in your mind burned in by the music, and it's incredible. What else do I want to say about this track? I mean, like, the actual production, the recording, mixing, and mastering is exquisite. I would not typically like there was a little bit of lack of definition in some of the drum parts and like the chorus and such like that, but I didn't mind it because it was that wall of sound, that overwhelming force, that pressure there. That makes a lot of sense with this message and what we're talking about. And I think thematically, the way it was produced and EQ'd and compressed, and the wideness of stuff and everything like that, and the stereo panning, and there was a lack. The thing that kind of sold it for me is that despite that intensity, that almost brick wallish kind of boosh of force, especially with that last hook coming off of the interlude, it's just sold me on it. It's just, damn, this is a different way of doing the mixing and mastering to what I'm used to, but I adore it to pieces. And I mean, I'm sold on it, man. I think that if this is going to be the quality of music that we have for like the next 14 months, the Drum has got themselves a hell of an album on their hands. And it's exactly the way you need to do it, in my opinion. You need to do monthly tracks, and you need each of them to be an absolute banger, make them current, and then give people a wider idea of who you are when you get to the point when you've got the material sorted. Because if you just release an album into the ether, there's a low chance people are going to care. But if you bring people in over time, talk about lots of different topics, but bring it back to similar sort of like consistencies, whether it's the way you say things, or the way you sing, or the way you make your music, or the instruments you use, that'll help it get a fan base, and it'll tie it all together. Absolute masterstroke. I'm stoked with it. This is my review of Anthem of Ukraine by The Drum. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show The Drum some love via their various social medias. And, that'll be on all digital streaming platforms. I know it's on Spotify and stuff. And stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next review. Spartans out.